Tonight, we may be witnessing the opening phase of the most dangerous geopolitical escalation in the Middle East in decades. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow maritime corridor through which nearly one-fifth of the world's oil supply flows, has effectively shut down. Missiles are flying across the region. Hezbollah has opened a second front. Global energy markets are already reacting to this. But the real story may not simply be the missiles or even the war itself. Because as we're going to see later in this episode, the deeper battle unfolding right now may actually be over something much larger: control over the global energy system. And when energy systems are threatened, the consequences ripple far beyond the battlefield. Tonight, we're going to step back from the noise and we're going to examine what is actually happening strategically, economically, historically, and most importantly, spiritually. This is Spiritual Frontlines, guys. I'm your host, Marco, and this is where we examine global events through the lens of history, civilization, and spiritual discernment. Because the conflicts shaping our world are never purely political. They're civilizational, they're moral, and often they're deeply spiritual. So before we begin tonight's analysis, I want to ask you one simple question. Do you believe this crisis is going to stabilize? Or are we witnessing the early stages of a much larger regional war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you're not already. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And again, share this video. Share it with someone that needs to hear this. Because right now, there's a lot of people out there that are confused and they're believing that, this isn't some, this is just a little military operation. It's not really a big deal. Because that's what they're feeding you in the media right now. And so your insights often, obviously shape future episodes. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Now, let's begin by examining what's actually happening, okay? And why, obviously, the world is suddenly, paying attention. So let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz crisis. To understand the gravity of this situation, we have to begin with geography. Few places on Earth are more strategically important than the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. Every day, enormous oil tankers pass through this corridor, carrying energy supplies from the Middle East to the rest of the world. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, all of these countries rely heavily on this single maritime exit point. Roughly 20% of the world's oil supply moves through this narrow passage. When everything is functioning normally, the flow of tankers are constant, right? Massive ships, some longer than skyscrapers laid on their sides, basically, move slowly through the channel carrying millions of barrels of crude oil. But what many people don't actually realize is that although the strait appears wide on a map, the actual shipping lanes are extremely narrow. Modern tanker traffic follows basically, what is known as a traffic separation scheme. That means that ships entering the Persian Gulf follow one designated lane. While basically ships leaving follow another. So you basically have two lanes that they've created there. Each lane is only about 2 miles wide. Between them sits a buffer zone. In other words, enormous vessels weighing hundreds of thousands of tons are funneled through corridors that are surprisingly, confined, right? This makes the strait one of the most vulnerable maritime choke points in the world because when shipping lanes narrow, disruption becomes much easier. A damaged tanker, for example, could block traffic, right? Naval mines could halt shipping. Missiles launched from nearby coastlines could threaten vessels moving through predictable routes. This is why disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz immediately send shockwaves through global markets, right? Because this is not simply a regional shipping route. It's one of the main arteries of the global energy system. And when arteries become, constricted, the entire body begins to feel the strain. So let's talk about a second front that's opened, okay? At the same time the shipping crisis unfolded, another development dramatically, increased the danger of the situation, right? Hezbollah entered the conflict. Hezbollah is not simply another militia group operating in the region. Over the past 2 decades, it's developed into one of the most heavily armed non-state military organizations on the planet. Its arsenal basically includes tens of thousands of rockets and missiles. Some estimates suggest that the total number exceeds 100,000, believe it or not. These weapons range from short-range rockets to more sophisticated systems capable of striking deep inside of neighboring territories. The strategic significance of Hezbollah entering the conflict is it's immense, okay? Because it opens a second front. History shows us that wars become far more dangerous when they expand beyond a single battlefield. A localized, confrontation can suddenly transform into a regional conflict when multiple fronts ignite simultaneously. Military planners refer to this as horizontal escalation. Instead of basically, one contained battlefield, the conflict spreads across multiple geographic zones. And, you have missile launches from one direction, airstrikes from another, naval confrontations in nearby waters, and suddenly what began as a single crisis becomes a network of interconnected battles. This dynamic has appeared repeatedly in Middle Eastern conflicts over the past several decades. And once basically multiple fronts begin operating simultaneously, controlling escalation becomes way more difficult to do. To understand the strategy behind these developments, we need to examine a concept known as asymmetric warfare. In a traditional military contest, victory is often determined by factors such as, industrial capacity, air superiority, technological advantage, and the size of conventional armed forces. But asymmetric warfare follows a different logic altogether. You got to understand this. Instead of confronting a larger and stronger opponent directly, the weaker actor basically seeks to exploit vulnerabilities. Rather than trying to defeat a superior military force head on, asymmetric strategies aim to impose costs, okay? Missiles, drones, cyber attacks, disruption of shipping lanes. These tactics are designed to pressure an adversary in ways that traditional military power can't easily counter. The goal is not necessarily to destroy the enemy's army at all. The goal is to raise the cost of the conflict, to create instability, to force decision makers in opposing capitals to ask whether continuing the confrontation is worth the economic and political consequences, really. So in the modern world, one of the most powerful ways to impose costs is by targeting systems rather than armies. Energy systems, shipping systems, supply chains, financial networks. And when these systems are disrupted, the consequences spread far beyond the battlefield. And that brings us to one of the deeper realities behind this crisis. The modern global economy runs on energy. Factories require electricity, transportation networks require fuel, agricultural production depends on energy intensive systems, right? And so when energy supply becomes unstable, the effects ripple through the entire economic structure. Oil prices rise, transportation costs increase, inflation spreads across entire economies. Consumers begin paying more for goods and services, and governments suddenly face the pressure from their own populations. This is why disruptions in the energy supply often carry geopolitical consequences far beyond, the immediate region. The Strait of Hormuz sits at the center of this system because so much of the world's oil supply flows through that narrow corridor. Any disruption there basically immediately affects global markets, and we're starting to see that right now. Energy traders begin pricing risk into oil contracts. Shipping companies reconsider routes. Insurance companies raise premiums dramatically. And in extreme conditions and situations, right, shipping companies may simply just refuse to send vessels through dangerous waters altogether. And when that happens, the physical flow of oil begins to slow. And when supply slows, prices react very quickly. This dynamic transforms a regional military confrontation into a global economic issue. Because when energy markets destabilize, political leaders around the world begin basically paying, very, very close attention. And so one of the countries watching this situation most carefully is China. China's the world's largest importer of oil. Let that sink in. It's heavily dependent on this region. Basically, its vast industrial economy depends on a constant flow of energy. A significant portion of that energy originates obviously in the Middle East, which means that disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz directly affect China's economic security. This creates a complicated strategic dilemma, guys. China maintains economic relationships with many countries in the region. It imports energy from Gulf states all the time. It maintains, diplomatic ties with Iran. It conducts trade with numerous Middle Eastern partners. And so if instability spreads across the region, China faces difficult choices here. Protect its energy supply? Encourage de-escalation? We don't know. Or does it attempt to remain neutral while basically protecting its economic interests? That's a possibility. But for Beijing, the priority is stability, because prolonged disruptions in energy supply could have serious consequences for Chinese manufacturing, trade, and economic growth. So history offers important lessons about how crises like this can actually unfold, right? Major wars rarely begin as global conflicts. They often begin in localized confrontations. The First World War began with the regional crisis in the Balkans. The Second World War began with the invasion of a single country. In both cases, escalation occurred through chains of alliances, right? Economic pressures and basically strategic miscalculations. History rarely repeats itself exactly, but it often rhymes. So we always talk about pattern recognition here, right? And when multiple escalation triggers appear simultaneously, energy disruptions, expanding fronts, rising military tensions, historians and strategists begin paying very, very close attention to this, because those conditions have basically preceded major conflicts before. And so what are the possible endgame scenarios here, right? Several potential outcomes could obviously emerge from this current crisis. The first possibility is diplomatic de-escalation. That's the best possible scenario. The second possibility is a prolonged regional conflict. Missile exchanges, airstrikes, and naval confrontations could actually continue basically for weeks or even months while remaining geographically contained. Now, that's not a great situation, but if it escalated to that phase, maybe it's something that can be kind of contained within that specific region. But the third possibility is a major geopolitical shift. If the conflict severely weakens a major regional actor, the balance of power in the Middle East could change dramatically. And at this stage, it's impossible to predict which path will actually unfold. But understanding these scenarios helps frame the strategic stakes. Now, what I want to talk about is, as Orthodox Christians, we're not called to panic, right? Nor are we called to blind optimism. We're called to discernment. Throughout history, obviously, moments of geopolitical upheaval have, often been revealed, with deeper spiritual realities, right? Empires rise, empires fall, political systems shift. But beneath these changes lies a deeper struggle, the spiritual struggle. In times of crisis, Christians are obviously called to remain sober, to observe carefully, to pray, to seek wisdom rather than hysteria. Because while nations compete for power and influence, the church reminds us that the ultimate battle is not merely political, it's spiritual. And that truth should shape, how we respond to the turbulence of the world around us. Now, the coming days and weeks may determine whether this crisis stabilizes, and we pray that it does, or it can escalate into something far more dangerous. The Strait of Hormuz, energy markets, regional alliances, all of these forces are now in motion. But whatever happens next, we need to approach these events with clarity, humility, and spiritual vigilance. Because history reminds us that moments of global tension often reveal the deeper forces shaping civilization. Thank you guys for watching this. And if you found this analysis helpful, please consider sharing this episode so more people can actually engage with thoughtful discussions about the world that we're living in, basically. And again, let me know your thoughts. Do you believe this crisis is going to stabilize, or are we entering a larger regional war? Until next time, stay armed, stay sober, and remember, Christ is King.